Let's revisit one of our big stories this afternoon that we have been putting our focus on. It has everything to do with the ballot papers printing case, and a three-judge bench is currently hearing a case filed by the opposition coalition, that is NASA, challenging the award of the ballot paper printing tender to Dubai-based company Al Ghurair. Now, NASA wants the tender cancelled and procurement of the 2.5 billion shillings ballot paper printing job redone on the basis that Al Ghurair executives have close ties with the Jubilee party, which will compromise the credibility of the process. Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is IEBC, wants the court to throw out the case, arguing that it is baseless since Al Ghurair won the tender fairly. Now, IEBC Chair Fuller Chebukati insists that the cancellation of the tender will have a far-reaching financial effects and affect election timelines with just 38 days to the August polls. Now, hearing the cases will be Justice Joel Ngugi, Justice George Odunga, as well as Justice J.J. Mativo. And as I've earlier promised you, we're now joined live from the Milimani Law Courts by our reporter Timothy Otieno, who is ready to give us some sort of an update on that particular hearing. Now, Timothy, a very good afternoon, and perhaps what more can you tell us? Because we are seeing this particular hearing has been labeled as, some sort of a marathon hearing. Do we expect a final, some sort of ruling by the end of business today?
Well, Yusuf, that may or may not be likely, depending on how much time the submissions will continue. Now, initially, each side had been given 45 minutes to present its submission before the court, and then after that, they were to be given 15 minutes to respond to each side of the submissions issued. Now, so far, we've heard from NASA lawyers represented by James Orengo and Mr. Joseph Awili, who are representing the NASA coalition, who went to court in this particular matter. And of course, they are preaching the same message that they have been preaching in their rallies right now in court, insisting that the single sourcing ought not to have been done, and that the Al Ghurair company that received the tender has links to high-ranking officials at State House, and therefore that alone compromises the forthcoming general elections, and that tender ought to be revoked on that basis alone. The IEBC is defending itself in this particular case, insisting that, first of all, the NASA coalition and indeed all presidential candidates had been given prior information that the IEBC would be conducting direct, or rather single sourcing or direct tendering in this particular case well in advance in May. The IEBC says by the month of May, all principals, or rather all candidates who are engaging in the forthcoming presidential elections had been given information that IEBC would be seeking single sourcing. Now, once again, the IEBC is also using the following argument in its case, that NASA did take a little bit of time to file this particular case. The IEBC awarded the tender to Al Ghurair, the direct procurement to Al Ghurair, on the 8th of June. NASA went to court on the 22nd of June, nearly 2 weeks after that award, and the IEBC is reading malice in that move by NASA, and insisting that in some way the coalition wants to cripple the forthcoming general elections and sabotage the elections. Al Ghurair, who are an interested party in this particular case, have also, through their lawyer Waweru Gakonye, have presented their submissions, and they're basically saying the IEBC had approached the company as far back as 2014 to get election materials ahead of the general elections. Al Ghurair also says that cancelling the current tender could lead to repercussions because, first of all, they have already begun the printing process. They have already gotten the designs and the security features that they need to print the 120 million ballot papers needed to conduct the general elections. And anything that could subvert this process may, of course, lead to losses financially and, of course, in terms of time, considering the amount of time and effort and energy that has been put towards preparing for this particular elections. So the submissions that were ongoing this afternoon at the moment are those of the Jubilee Party, who are also interested members in this particular case, represented by Fred Ngatia and Ahmed Nasir. who are, of course, defending the party against any links between party officials and Al Ghurair in this particular case. The three-judge bench is listening to the matter, and it is highly unlikely that they may be able to deliver that ruling today, considering the lengthy submissions that have been issued by all partners involved in this particular case. And maybe we shall be waiting for that directive as soon as it comes as to whether that ruling will be given today, or maybe they'll have to postpone it to next week. Remember, 39 days is really a short time, and the Attorney General, Githu Muigai, submitted his case before this particular court and actually gave out a warning that what NASA was seeking to do in this particular case would lead to a constitutional crisis, because if the elections are not held on August the 8th, then that means perhaps Article 134 of the Constitution may have to kick in and a caretaker government will have to take place, and therefore this could lead to a constitutional crisis, because the Constitution is very clear on the exact day when elections are supposed to be held, and that is the second Tuesday of the 8th month of the year. So whatever will be decided here today will have very huge ramifications or repercussions, Yusuf.
Many thanks, Timothy. That is our reporter, Timothy Otieno, coming to us all the way from the Milimani locals. Of course, it is a ruling many Kenyans are waiting anxiously for. And according to Timothy, their both set of lawyers have already made their submissions. They were each given 45 minutes to make their case. One in support, of course, of the cancellation of the tender process, and the other in support of the status quo, saying that the company in question, that is Al Ghurair, should continue with the printing of the ballot papers. Of course, that is a story that we're still following for you.